Previously on Kung Fu Maintenance.
Got some drywall patchwork going on. It's not super bad, but just bad enough to need some repairing, some mudding, and some patch. So I'm gonna get rid of all the high spots first. I'm gonna take off these bumps first. Take down the high spots that I can. What I have is some quick mix mud. This is 2 parts powder, 1 part water. You only want to mix up as much as you use within 20 minutes. This is a 20-minute mud. So since my mud is a little bit thin, I'll start with the walls first and then work my way to the ceilings. Ideally, I'll get just a nice smooth surface first and take the texture. Okay, so now you can see my texture is barely starting to dry here around the edges. And so just around the edges, I don't want any high spots there. So I'm going to use just my sponge. I got it a little wet. And just around the edges, I'm going to feather that in, drag it over. Just like so. It's going to make it blend and really going to hide that outer edge. That's the most critical spot here. It really shows up when you're doing drywall work where you have a hard edge or an edge that ends bluntly. What we can do is kind of stagger where that edge ends instead. Using the sponge is a lot easier than using sandpaper. You won't have to breathe all that sand in from the drywall, and I just find it makes a better finish. Maybe it just brings out the artist in you. Just kind of trust your gut on it, your feeling as you're working with it. Lightly work it in. Alright, so there it is. One more shot as it dries. Okay, well my texture repair job continues and I need water for my sponge. Problem is, I just had a major plumbing leak and I have no water. So I wanted to show you where you could actually get water from, and this might sound gross if you need water when you have water out, but it is what it is, and this isn't actually gross. It's actually clean water. You can see right here already in the toilet tank.
Yep, this is one of the last places to get truly clean water. So if there's a national emergency, you don't want to waste this. You want to save this for clean water. If you need to flush the toilet, get water from the pool. Check out my video on emergency flushing.
I only get 1 flush, so I'm not going to use it. I actually have 2 toilets, so I'm not going to flush this toilet for a while. But anyway, I'll be able to get my sponge wet and use the water from here to do the texture. Okay, so now that my texture has had a chance to dry, what we're going to do is smooth out any of the high spots with the sponge. With the wet sponge, definitely works a lot easier than using a sander. The sand makes a lot of dust and you have to breathe all that stuff in. And this way it'll let you just kind of smooth it all out, get rid of the high spots without all the dust being created. So it's just a lot easier. Which makes for a better finish. This one, it's tempting to just leave it and just paint it, but the problem is this is a semi-gloss. And semi-gloss is very nice because it's a durable finish and you can actually clean it. The flaw to semi-gloss though is it shows imperfections in the texture a lot easier in the texture or the mud. And so if this isn't smooth and the texture not applied properly, the gleam of the gloss will show it a lot more. This one is probably not going to come out perfect. It's just going to be better than it was. I had a major water leak outside in the ground on the main line today, so I actually don't have water. I'm using it from toilet tank, as I showed you earlier. But it'll work. Just enough to really do the job. Smooth it all down here. Get that. Anyway, the main idea is to get it as smooth as possible. Not always possible. And sometimes you just need that coat. And any bigger lines you can actually knock down with a scraper. Take it off that way. Just to get things as level as we can. As smooth as we can. And this one's not going to be perfect, it's just going to be better than it was, that's all. Alright, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty much going to do it. Now, since I don't have any water, I'm going to go grab a piece of cardboard that I can use as kind of a screen when I put the texture on. That way I can float it on. Okay, so normally with the texture, I'd run it under hot water to allow it to build up pressure. Make sure the can's shaken up really well. It has some adjustment for different knockdown size. You can do a light texture or a heavy texture. You want to match your existing texture, so you can kind of compare the pattern. Mine looks like light to heavy. I think it looks more towards the light style. So this can says it can get about 75 square feet. Again, usually I'd run it under hot water. Since I don't have the hot water, I'm going to remove the tab here and remove this tab here. It just pulls right out. There we go. Now ready to fire it. This is the adjustment for texture, low to high. So mine looks like a low setting. And since I don't have hot water, I'll just leave this outside in the sun for 10 minutes or so in the hot summer sun out here. Let that do its thing. And this stuff, you can knock it down and then you can always reapply it if you need to. It's certain areas, so just based on whatever you need. You ready for the mess? Here it comes, because it's a messy job. Here's what it is.
And now for the actual texture.
So you really gotta hold this stuff upside down, shake it up really good in order to apply it. Circular motions, holding it about 6 to 8 inches away from our wall. Just gonna get it done.
You'll definitely want to put some plastic or some cardboard down below to catch any falling texture. It is some very messy stuff, so it's easier to put something down than do a whole bunch of cleanup later. So whatever you can do to minimize that, make it easier. On this one I used a couple old pizza boxes that I found work perfect.
That's about it. Stop there. Okay. Now we've got 1 or 2 minutes to knock it down. And I'm not going to knock it down a whole lot. I'm just going to knock it down just a bit. I'm going to go ahead and clean off whatever I can for the wall. Away pretty lucky there. Not too much overspray. Alright. Now comes the knockdown. We can reapply texture if we need to for any areas. See if we get the ceiling. I don't want to knock down too much on this one. Just enough. And hold the knife perpendicular to the wall. That's kind of the trick on this stuff, is to go perpendicular. They recommend using a 6 to 8 inch knife. Want to avoid walking the knife and just knock it down lightly. So again, avoiding walking the knife. That's going to be pretty good for that. For the ceiling. And then for the back wall. About all I could ask for. So, I'm going to get my smaller knife, and if there's any areas that I just need to kind of fill in just to make this balance out a little bit better. Might as well use the little bit of texture I got left on my knife here. again, if you need to, you can reapply texture as needed. Just try to get it to blend in to the existing. I think that would be pretty good. It could be perfect, but it would be pretty good. You know, one key with the texture is holding the knife perpendicular to the wall. A lot of times it's tempting to hold the knife at a 90 or at an angle, you know, a 45. You really want to hold it straight up and down, so it won't, when you're knocking down the texture. This is fill in a little bit up top. Blend that in right there. I think that's going to work just fine. Okay. Again, it won't be perfect, but it will be better than it was. We're all set. I'll check my shoes and make sure I didn't step in them. If I didn't, and good to go. Clean up my knife. Call it as it. Clean up that. Just there. Do that. Okay, the rest is just letting it dry in, and we're all set. Time is gonna tell. And now I'll clean off my knife really good. I don't have any water, so it's kind of tricky. But that's right. Make it work. I'll just put it on my cardboard here. Use that. Finish it off. Okay. And I'll clean my blade. Okay. There we go. Alright, good to go. Okay, so my texture is all nice and dry now. I'm ready to paint it up. Again, it's not going to be perfect. Yeah, rarely things aren't perfect like this. Well, especially when the water's turned off. But now I'm ready to paint it up. The texture, you want to let it dry at least an hour before painting it for this particular brand. Each brand's different, so you want to follow your particular manufacturer's instructions there. Jump in here, paint away, get it down. Got a nice 4-inch brush to make this go on a little bit easier. Paint it up. You could prime it first to make it come out a little bit better. I'm not going to this round. This is just over the tub. Again, it's just not perfect enough already. But it should be good enough. Got a 2-inch brush also for detail work. I might not really need the 2-inch brush. just a nice disposable chip brush anyway. Since the water's off, I'll probably need to just throw it away once I'm finished. Let it dry out. Well, it is what it is. Okay, so now I'm putting on the second coat. Kind of already started a little bit. Let's make it a little bit better. First coat is like the primer. And this will just be the finish coat. Okay, that'll do it. 2 coats. Anyway, there it is, all finished. Should dry in just right. We'll be all set.